Well, here we are once again with a interesting group of items that have come from an auction. I'll give you a little bit of background on this. Out in California, on occasion, there are auctions that will be selling off items from different movie studios, prop houses, and warehouses. And most of the items are going to be things from recent productions in the last few years, but on occasion there are items that are something they might have pulled out of a warehouse that was from 50 years ago or something like that. And maybe about 10 years ago I had bought some different military items, a bunch of Vietnam lightweight rucksacks, some Harvin rucksacks, and some parachutes and so forth, and they were all from one of the warehouses, I believe, for Warner Brothers. So when I saw another auction and they had some similar parachutes, I thought, and I knew that this was stuff that was coming again out of a warehouse for Warner Brothers, went ahead and bid on it and was fortunate enough to win it. So we're going to take a look at a couple of the parachutes that were in that lot. This first one here is it's got the date right on there of January 12th, 1943. Since it was used for TV and movie production, I believe they removed the parachutes and just put a piece of foam in there, making it easier for filming. This one here also has, someone has written RKO and some different numbers. You know, RKO Pictures was one of the big studios back in the 40s into the 50s with Howard Hughes. At one point they were the distributor for all of the Disney movies, so I'm guessing that when this one was no longer in service in the military, that RKO Pictures probably bought it, and then eventually Warner Brothers would have ended up with it. So who knows how many different movies or TV shows this one would have been used in. It's got unfortunately, over time, the padding in this back piece has kind of dried out, and so it's very crunchy. But I guess that would be to be expected overall this time. I believe this would, I don't know much about parachutes, but this is what you would have pulled, I'm guessing, to release the parachute. And they do have, let's see if I can get it out of here. They have these little booklets in there for your log of your parachute, and see, they're very tight fit in there. So you had emergency use of parachute, February of 1945, and then this one here, parachute log record. And a lot of the dates in here are from like 46 to 49. You see, like there it says manufacture May of 42. But one of the interesting things in here is, I think in the back, let's see if I can find it, it mentions Thunderbird Field, and it's got a date from 1944. If you're not familiar with Thunderbird Field, back in the late 30s, I believe there was a general that thought that the U.S. didn't have enough trained pilots and they needed to expand on some airfields, get some more training done. But unfortunately he couldn't get the funding to do that. I think they only agreed to processing, like enlarging one airfield. And so eventually what he did was he went to looking for investors. How could they expand this? How could they get more troops that were trained as pilots? And so what he ended up doing was, there was a producer along with what were some of the biggest names in Hollywood at the time, Cary Grant, Jimmy Stewart, Robert Taylor, Margaret Sullivan, Henry Fonda. They were the ones that put up the money for Thunderbird Field to be created. And obviously a short time later, and that was in 1940, you know, by the end of 41, the U.S. was in World War II and certainly made use of that airfield. They ended up having, I think there were three 3 or 4 airfields. These were all in Arizona. There was Thunderbird 1, Thunderbird 2, Thunderbird 3. Thunderbird 3 was just for British pilots. Thunderbird 1 and 2, by the end of the war, I think there were about 20,000 pilots that had graduated from that school. So it's interesting, and again, it ties back to the some of the Hollywood aspects of it, that who knows how many of those pilots of the 20,000 ended up in combat and so forth. So if that airfield had not already been built and expanded and all that, it would have made things a lot harder for the U.S. Army Air Force. So that was the first one. The second one here is very similar. They're both the AN6510-1 parachutes. And this one, as I said, has got basically the same design to it. It does have the parachute seat cushion. You know, once again, the padding in it, you can see it's very crunchy, just dried out over time, I'm sure. But this one, again, showing the aspect of what would happen maybe to these items after they were not in use with the military anymore. I'm guessing they needed, there's so many similarities between, you know, the German parachutes and the U.S. parachutes at that time, that I'm guessing for some production they needed this to look like it was a Luftwaffe parachute. And I mean, it looks professionally drawn, and it looks like it's got like some wax or something that they had put over it to, I don't know, to protect it so that it wouldn't get worn off or something like that. So anyways, an interesting aspect. Who knows what production that was for. I believe this one here, the last date in it from the military use was like 57, so probably late 50s it started getting used in TV and movie productions. This one here is a reserve chute, and this one here is a little bit newer versus these other ones being from World War II. This one has a date on it. I don't know if it's either 1950 or 1958. You know, I wish it was a World War II dated one, but it's still got a lot of the little bungee cords on it, and you know, still got your pull handle here. Unfortunately, the little booklet with the log is missing out of it. And this fourth one here is a Type B-10. It's got a date on it again, October 1950, so more like a Korean War era, but it's in really good shape. Unlike the other ones, the padding in this doesn't really feel like it's falling apart quite like the other ones. And part of the reason I had bought this lot was as I said, I don't know much about parachutes, but I knew that during World War II they were using this kind of white colored webbing, and so they must have continued to use that maybe into the 50s. But so if you see a parachute at a estate sale or something like that, and you see it has this old whitish webbing, I would guess that's a pack that's going to be from the 40s or 50s. Now when we look at value of all of these, this one here just sold for about $350. So pretty good amount of value, considering again there is no parachute in here. But you know, they said the condition is pretty good. These ones here I would say are probably worth a little bit more, being that they're World War II. I believe one is recently sold on eBay that had the parachute and was in a little bit better overall condition. It sold for about $1,300. Now, obviously, I don't think that this one's worth anywhere near that, but it just shows you the kind of value, because how many of these parachutes have survived this long? So they can be something valuable. They're a great display piece, and as I said, the history on these, from the Thunderbird field being created to who knows how many different TV and movie productions these were used in. And If you're familiar with, in the 1960s, there was a British TV show. It's kind of well known because they used marionettes, puppets throughout the whole show. It was a sci-fi show called The Thunderbirds. And that show, they came up with that name because the brother of the creator of that show had actually been a pilot at Thunderbird Field in Arizona, I guess in Thunderbird Field 3, which was for the British pilots. So it had a great impact not only on the war, but also on a very odd sci-fi TV show for, I guess probably on the BBC or something. So anyways, that just shows you a little bit of these different parachutes. It ties into the TV and movie and military and so forth. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this. Hopefully you've seen something here that was of interest, give you a little more information on that. As always, I appreciate you watching. If you've enjoyed this video, you like to see videos about different auction and estate sale finds and military items and so forth, I do encourage you to like and subscribe so that you'll know when future videos are uploaded. I've got over 50 videos already up on different items from World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and so forth. So as always, thanks for watching.